Okay, so what we'll do today is we'll go through Avalanche and have a look at some price predictions moving into 2022 and give you those key levels that you need to look for both to the upside and to the downside. So we'll get straight into it, okay? Now, when I give you some of these price targets, a good idea for you to do is actually to mark these off on TradingView, okay? So I do this for all my coins where I don't need to go back and have a look at them because I've already marked them out. Right, so if I give you these key levels, just mark them off, and that way you can come back to them and just react to them when you get the alerts on your phone. Okay, so in terms of Avalanche, just wanted to quickly mention over here how we said don't be going long. Okay, we're really overextended over here, and we could potentially get that 40% decline, and the charts are showing us what the news might tell us, and we got exactly that. And we said how, you know, that our first point of call would be at $100. You can go back and look at this. You know, our second one would be that $75 level at this order block over here, which we'll go through in a moment, and we reach those to the T. So check out that video if you haven't already. It'll give you an idea of how you can you know, use charts to predict where price is going to go with a pretty good degree of accuracy. Now, like I showed you a moment ago, we are at the EMA, we're above the weekly 21, which shows us that we're, you know, our momentum's to the upside, and clearly we are in an overall uptrend. But this area for me is not somewhere that I would say is an area of value that I want to be looking to buy Avalanche, not somewhere near the all-time highs. We want to be picking out those key levels of support resistance, okay? And we can see here, this is where we mark out essentially, you know, that $75 level here where we had reactions in the past where we flipped it as you know, support resistance. That will be my first point to enter, and then I was also looking at the $60, which is essentially that previous swing high over here, and we've seen you know, price reaction in the past, and then we can even see another level here at around that $40 mark. Okay, so we want to mark these areas off as potential areas of value to be, you know, entering and joining any uptrends. Okay, now, and we also want to mark out some, obviously, some key trend lines. So maybe we grind down, is my thinking, in the next you know, in the next few months or whatnot. I do think, you know, there is a reasonable chance that AVAX will cool off, move sideways, or grind downwards. Okay, because we have been in a big uptrend. But those are the areas that I'll be looking out for. And if we have a look at our VPVR, we want to have a look at areas of low volume. Okay, so we see here, we tag this area over here, another area of low volume over here, and even this area over here. And the reason that we do that is because typically we get good price reactions at that point because no one's doing business at that level. So basically, you know, there's either no sellers coming in at those levels. So if we have a massive dump, you're expecting this to either have a massive bounce at these levels, or we can slice through, and if we slice through, then we move down to the next level of price action where we can chop around. But just mark out these levels. That's how to use, and how I use VPVR to help me mark out these key levels. And you can see that they are in confluence, these low volume areas, okay, with some of these key price targets over here. Okay, so those are the levels that I'll be looking at to the downside. You know, previously, before as well, we have moved down to that 50 level, so look out for some of these key fibs. You can see that they also line up with them, you know, those low volume areas and those weekly order blocks, so just look out for those. Okay, so that's where I'll be looking to buy. Now, on the short term, okay, the way that I'd be looking at this is we are, you know, in essentially some sort of potential inverse head and shoulders over here for Avalanche. All we've got here is the shoulder, and that's the head, and here's the other shoulder. Now, if we do make a move from here, move to the upside, should we decide to grind higher and make another move higher, I'd be looking at the breakout, projected breakout target over here, at about the $170, $175 mark. Okay, wherever we break out from. Okay, so look out for that, and remember, we like to look out for our fib relationships of 1.618 and 4.236. So can we find anywhere in this smaller pattern where we can find some confluence, and we can see here again at 1.618, depending on if we do break out from here, that is an area if you're looking to play this as an inverse head and shoulders. So just something to look out for. Okay, so that 170 mark. But at some point in 2022 or in the future, okay, the way that I'm looking at this is a magnet that does seem to be, you know, a good projection for AVAX moving into the future is about that $240 level, and I'll show you why. Because if we extend some of these fibs out here, okay, what we do tend to get is we get this level over here, okay, you know, that $250, $260 level from that big impulse over there. If we do a reverse fib on here, takes us to pretty much the same place, 220, so somewhere between 220, 260. And even if you have a look at some of these major impulses, which is the way that I like to do it, so when I do my fib extensions, I like to pick those big trends. So for example, like up here, and that big retracement, and then you can project prices into the future, that you get something similar, that when you have a look at even any of these levels where you project the next fib level up, and you can see that we're again at around that 250. So maybe look at that for a longer term target for AVAX to move into. Okay, but like I said, areas of value for me are around that $75, where we can see previous you know, support come in, and then anything below that I'll be looking at 60 or 40. Don't think that prices can't grind down you know, to you know, 65, 60, 50% down. Okay, even yeah, especially if the market really, you know, decides to take a move to the downside. So yeah, just bear that in mind. But AVAX BTC as well, similar to AVAX USD, is actually obviously is uptrending, but we are at all-time highs at the minute. So we are tending to sort of grind higher, but we're forming this kind of wedge pattern over here. And remember, wedge patterns do tend to break to the downside eventually. Okay, so that's something to look out for. So we're grinding here, we're not quite able to get over that 25,000 sat level, okay, for AVAX BTC. So it is quite possible that we'll see some resistance at these levels, and for me the next levels of support to come in would be this area over here, okay, and maybe obviously this area over here where we had our previous you know, all-time high, or rather our previous swing high, and we've had multiple touch points before. So you want to pick out those key levels, and that will mark a decline in BTC value of about 30%, and another one of about 45-48%, okay, from the highs at the minute. And it is quite important, I think, just to bear in mind that, you know, the market can be quite fluid, okay, and you might want to find areas of buying opportunities for AVAX on a BTC level, not just on the USD level, because it might be that maybe from now BTC makes a big run, and if that happens, that can drag the USD value up of Avalanche AVAX, but the BTC value might be grinding down and correcting down to the downside. So you know, that's how I'd be looking at that. So, you know, let's say BTC reached, say, 100K, you might find that AVAX was, say, like $120 or $130, just as an example, okay? And that would mean that we're basically, you know, we're kind of, we've lost value, and it's not able to keep up with Bitcoin. So, yeah, just look out for those key levels. Let's get rid of my emails. Yeah, and just look out for those key levels over here, and that'll give you an idea. Again, mark them off, and that'll tell you maybe something about how you can react to the market at the time. It might be that Avalanche is just dumped and BTC said roughly the same value, but just mark out those key levels. But I'm still expecting Avalanche to move somewhat sideways, or, you know, grind to the downside, yeah, in the near short term. But again, we're looking at our key fib relationships, and if we have a look at Avalanche at some point, either now or into the future, we can see that we're at that 1.618. We always mark those key you know, fib extensions from the major impulses, and we can see that, like we said, we look at the 1.618, okay, and maybe at some point in the future, from current valuations, you know, maybe it's this year, maybe it's some point in next year, but just do look at these as, you know, like I said, that 4.236 is usually a magnet for a lot of altcoins, which is 135% increase in BTC value from current valuations. But like I said, for me, I'd be a buyer somewhere down here at these lower sat ranges to give you, you know, better value and better entry points for AVAX. So yeah, something to look out for. So hopefully that gives you some good, some key price targets and key levels to look out for moving into this year. If you like the video, please go ahead and give it a like down below. Drop me a comment with where you think AVAX is headed this year. And peace out, and I'll catch you in the next video.